So Turkey has a great love for cats and dogs, cats in particular, and you'll see many people looking out after dogs and cats on the streets, leaving them food, leaving them water, stopping and petting them, showing them love and respect. It's a beautiful thing, and I really respect that about the Turkish people as a whole. Now here we've got dry food, but what's interesting is you'll see them feed the street cats and street dogs, cooked meats all the time. Raw meats, old scraps from the local kesef from the butcher. So it's like kitty. But I was thinking about dry food because growing up, I always had cats and dogs, and it's like we were kind of on a low budget, and our animals, they always ate dry food for the most part. And occasionally, it's like when we'd be, eating some meat, some scraps, leftovers would go to the dog, to the cats. So they would get that. But, if you just think about the way that animals live naturally, cats and dogs, whether they're wild or semi-wild, then they're usually, in most cases, eating hot food. It's hunted and it's eaten blood red. And occasionally when they're hungry, they will eat carrion, something that's already been dead and laying there, and they have strong stomachs for that. So they will eat those things when they're hungry. But this kind of dry food, which is highly processed food, is not natural to cats and dogs. And it has a lot of health issues potentially because it's usually highly processed scraps of bones and gristle and parts of animals that nobody wants to touch. And then also it has, that humans don't want. And then it'll have other things added in, food colorings, certain types of synthetic vitamins and minerals, which really are not nutritious. And if you'll notice, if you give most animals the choices, they're going to choose the fresher food, the actual real food. And they will often even walk away. You can see many videos of animals walking away from fast food like a hamburger or whatever, or chicken nuggets that are offered to them, because they can sense, through smell and taste that something's off about it, that it's not right. So I was just thinking about it. It's like growing up, like how often, even with the dry food, I don't ever remember an instance, and I regret this, but like I don't remember ever like getting, say, some bone broth and heating it up and then pouring it over their dry food to make it tastier, to make it easier to chew, to digest. Instead, they have to constantly chew this hard processed food substitute. And think about it, like what if we lived on water and nuts? It's like if that was all we had to eat. Technically we could eat nuts. I don't know how long we can actually live on nuts before it causes a health problem. Now, I know many of the cats and dogs that I've met over the years that eat this dry processed food substitute. They wind up with tumors all over their bodies, with a number of health conditions. They're not eating anything approximating a normal diet for canines and felines. It's very, very different from that. It's very manufactured and artificial. They can survive on it, I've seen dogs when they're hungry, they'll eat bread, but that's not going to be their first choice. And then that makes us wonder, how healthy many of the breads are on the markets with, all the genetic modifications in the sprays, and that they have to have nutrients added in, like the white breads, which is basically garbage, and that's what's eaten all over the world. How many of our foods are food substitutes, are artificial foods, and not actual authentic, not actually authentic to the human species, the way that we've grown and developed over so many thousands and thousands and thousands of years plus. That's why I think that it's very valuable to eat as close to nature as possible. And it should be for them. Now that would get quite expensive, for street cats to feed them, steak and chicken legs and things like that. People do that as kind of an offer of sadaqah, as an offer of charity and love. to the creatures. So it's just something to think about. Like, it's also kind of bizarre when then people try to change. So we've already started to change the diets of cats and dogs to a processed food diet, which is very, very different from anything that their ancestors would eat and the ways that they would eat. So it's just kind of interesting to think about this. And then you've got even further people that are trying to make their dogs, their cats vegan, etc., which is several steps even further from the starting point. And I think that all of us, we should eat as organically and ethically and as nutrient dense as possible, and to feed our creatures, that the ones that are under our care and our influence. Now, like I said, it does get expensive, and right now we're in some serious economic downturn all around the world, including here in Turkey. I'm not here to criticize people who are sharing these kind of processed foods with street cats, because they're doing it out of sincerity and love. I've seen how much the Turkish people love these animals, and that's a beautiful thing to me. And so it's just something to consider, that we should live as close to our ancestral diets as possible, as should they. And you could argue, well, they're free, they're street cats, they could be hunting mice and rats and small creatures, and this is true, and maybe some of them do. I don't know how many of these are expert hunters, or I've seen some of them over by the beach fishing, like trying to grab fish, and I don't know how often they're successful and pull a fish out. It's like, but that's more their natural thing. So if they really don't like this food, they do have options. If they've got their claws, if they've got their fangs, they've got their teeth. They've got the natural instincts. These creatures are partially domestic, partially wild. So I don't know. It's just something to think about. Something that just has been going through my mind. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter, and how you have fed your pets and your animals, your creatures. Do you accept the word pet for a creature? Do you reject that? Do you look at them as friends, as companions, as family members? Because they're amazing creatures, and we can learn so much from them. They're great teachers, they're great friends, they're great companions in many cases. So just wanted to share a little bit of thought about processed food for the creatures. So this guy seems to like it enough. He's clearly not hungry enough to go fishing or hunting. Maybe he enjoys his lifestyle like this. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter. Until next time, be happy.